Right, and I think that a lot of the Eric Wolfs that come to our firm, they're confronting a divorce, and they are very reluctant to engage in deep conversations, generally speaking. And so, one thing that my firm we always encourage clients going through a divorce is to seek mental health or therapy and counseling. And a lot of guys will be like, "Oh, that's so woo woo. Like, I don't need that. I'm a guy, right?" And you're a hockey player. I think that there's a element that you've heard that before. So, what would you say to Eric Wolf when he says, "I don't need a men's group or therapy or counseling. That's just too, soft for me."
Yeah, I'd say that's a naive perspective. I'd say that I understand where it's coming from because our fathers and their fathers were like that. Um, but that's not how our physiology, our biology, our nervous system is hardwired. We're actually evolved from 2 million years of living in small tribes and talking about things. And it's just in the last couple hundred years where, unfortunately, our ancestors went through pretty difficult times with lots of wars, at least for North America, with our European kind of ancestors. Lots of wars and lots of depressions. And like my dad's dad grew up working in the coal mines in Ireland and started when he was 11 and set out for a new life on his own when he was 15 for Canada. Got on a steamship by himself and set out for a new life. How fucked up was his life that he had to leave his country and everything behind at 15, And then he had 11 kids, and so my dad isn't getting much love, right? My dad got a handshake when he moved out. He never got a hug. He never got an "I love you." So like that's where that's coming from. That resistance to emotions is because we didn't have the opportunity to in past generations. But don't mistake that for being the way that we're wired, because 2 million years of being in tribes actually has made us actually programmed to share that stuff. And the mental health research, the stats, all the science around this verify that. This isn't my opinion. It's deep research.
And what would you say to Eric Wolf if he came to a men's group or came to Sean Galla and said, "My wife was cheating on me. I'm embarrassed about this. I don't know where to go." What do you tell someone like Eric when he's dealing with infidelity?
It comes back to your question of like, what do you guys talk about in your men's group, and like, what does that look like? So I never intended to run men's groups. Like, I do have a counselor personality by nature. I got down like a business track trying to prove myself. I probably should have been a counselor because I love this stuff. But um, yeah, I was actually surprised that on these guys wanted to engage in these conversations about everyday guy stuff. Hey, my wife and I are in conflict a lot. How can I show up better? Hey, um, I'm having trouble setting boundaries with the people at work. Like, how do I do that better? Hey, I don't have any guy friends. How can I make more guy friends? But the real kicker was like when I was on these adventure trips, and I'm sorry that this is a long-winded answer, but I think it exemplifies it well. The first adventure trip we did, we're on this surf trip, and these guys are doing this adventure, and we're talking about work and a little bit of life, but not a lot of stuff. Guys are kind of guarded, right? And then we sit down in this circle at the end of the trip. And I think it's going to be a business mastermind where we're supporting each other through business. Hey, I'm going through this challenge. Can you offer resources? And the first guy, just by happenstance, says, "My wife just had her third miscarriage, and I have no idea how to support her. She's feeling depressed. I'm feeling down. What do I do?" And he started crying just a little bit. Um, and it was fascinating because that changed the tone in the room, and immediately guys were supportive. And then what happened is the next guys in the circle also shared the real stuff that they were actually going through, because they had observed that, oh, this guy isn't going to be judged as being weak for sharing something emotional or sharing something personal. So, and then the next guy went talking about how he's not sure whether he should let his new kid, like his young son, around his alcoholic father. Like these are real scenarios that we all deal
Heavy
with.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, kinda heavy stuff, and then other guys is not as heavy, it's like, "Oh, I just came into some inheritance, what do I do with it?" Or there's all these personal topics, just day-to-day stuff as well, and I it I realize that guys want to talk about this stuff, we all do, because it's pressure in our minds, right? But we just need to be in the right environment. We need to feel like we're not gonna be judged as weak or gay or whatever just for sharing that? So that's what I'd say to your buddy there is, "Hey, man, there's lots of guys here going through that, and you don't have to share if you don't want to, but these are the guys to do it with if you have the chance. So, and then we just hang out, and naturally, he'd see the other guys talking about it, and he'd probably start to feel more comfortable.